Reconstruction Capital Reserve Fund 0064, see attached. Pike Industries Incorporated, dated 8/21/2018, invoice number 38/228. $30,000 from the State Aid for Reconstruction Expendable Trust Fund 0058, see attached, invoice Pike Industries dated 8/21/18, invoice 38/228.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We'll sign it.
Boy, let me go next, thanks. I smeared your writing. I did. Left-handed draw.
Thank you. Okay. This is a letter to the State of New Hampshire Liquor Commission for the J-Town Deli. Town of Jackson acknowledges John and Jean Anzaldi and their business entity, Anzaldi LLC, as the owner of J-Town Deli and Country Store located at 174 Main Street in Jackson, New Hampshire. The town has no issue with J-Town Deli and Country Store and wish to give our permission for their business to serve beer and wine inside their store.
They did confirm that they're not having any music of any sort, so noise would be an issue.
So they always sell beer and wine, but I don't recall something like this.
Consuming it on property.
Oh, they're consuming open containers.
Open
Got it.
container, yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve.
And I will second.
All in favor?
All right.
Thank
Any opposed?
you.
Let's sign it up. Okay, we have a cemetery lot
Agreement.
request for, I guess it's the in-town cemetery. The village cemetery, yes. Edward Venti. I said, we've got the check here.
I'll make that motion.
And I will second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Sign it up.
All right, thank you.
Okay, then we've had, we need to have some discussion about the idea of donations to the town. We want to set a policy that is fair across the board, be the same for everybody. Julie gets quite a few requests for people that want to donate something either in memory of a loved one or whatever, they just want to donate. So we have to decide whether we accept donations, what our policy would be for accepting donations. And one of the ideas that I was presented with were bricks behind the library at the new
Patio.
pergola and patio are, I think there are, in the crescent, there was going to be a surface put in that could be similar to the bricks that are in the sidewalk in North Conway that have the people that donate to whoever inscribed in the brick and put it in the sidewalk. We could do something similar. I don't know if they have any idea of putting in a walkway out to the patio. Anyway, I think it's a good way to allow people to make a donation to the town, particularly for a loved one who has passed away, and something that, is really useful.
So the most recent request that came in was actually to do something on the bridge, on the covered bridge, because a couple had gotten engaged there and he wanted to do something for that. So that's kind of where this started. And the idea of behind the library, it's something that Lycan, I guess, has started to talk to her board about. I don't think they've made any decisions, but I asked her, I said, is it something maybe we could work together and come up with that particular area? So it's just at the beginning stages. But
On this particular request, it's difficult because the land is state land. So we can't really put anything up. We couldn't put a bench out there. We can't do it at the bridge.
Right.
But if we could direct their efforts and their feelings towards something behind the library, it might be a way to allow them to make that donation and make it useful for the town.
because in the past people have talked about benches, and I think all the spots are kind of
Taken.
for benches at this point. So then it leaves, well, what do people have the option to do?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a state bridge, so that,
Well,
at least they didn't honeymoon on the bridge. I'm pleased to hear that.
Well, they originally contacted the state bridge maintenance, and then they referred them to, I believe, Pat, and then passed it.
I've never understood why people refer to it as the honeymoon bridge.
It's a misnomer, and I believe the Honeymoon Bridge was...
Well, it's on grazing property, not the covered bridge.
It was out back here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
It's true.
But in current usage, it is referred to as the Honeymoon Bridge by any number of people. I don't
But
know.
it's wrong.
And let the record show
Reflect that.
that it is wrong. But anyway, they have their feelings. It wasn't their honeymoon. They got engaged, so we'll call it the engagement bridge. And they would still like to do something. So, however, they've named the bridge in their minds. We know that it's not correct, but whatever happens at the patio behind the library will be correct. So I think it's a good place. I think it's a way for us to accept the idea of donations, and I would propose that we pursue that idea. Yes, Chief?
Oh, do you remember, was it 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, I lost track, we had a big discussion about benches one year,
Yeah.
because we were getting so many requests, everybody wanted a bench everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember I don't remember exactly what the outcome was, whether we kind of weren't like allowing benches anymore, unless it was a really, really super.
That is the perception at the office, that we're not taking those donations anymore. But this idea was in lieu of benches, if something could be done that would be beneficial or helpful to the town.
I'd like to know where the library board is. I mean, it seems like a logical way when people want to be able to donate and have something left in their memory. And so if the library board of trustees is in favor of kind of taking that approach on their end, and they are interested in also having that be something that could be a town-supported approach, I think it makes all the sense in the world. I'd like to know, if they've had this kind of idea proposed to them or not, but if you could work with Lycan and let them know that, I don't know how John feels about it. But,
Sounds like a great place for it, actually.
yeah.
Well, having talked to Lycan this afternoon, she was going to make that proposal to them, and we asked her if it would be all right if we brought it up at this meeting. We're not deciding anything, but
Yeah.
Good
brought it up
fundraising.
as an idea. I think we'd be favorably bent towards it. So I would say have them, pursue it, see if they want to. And that would be not cost sharing, but we would share responsibility for implementing that and figure out a price of a brick that would, help with having it put in place. It doesn't have to be just a price of a brick. I mean, we're going to put a patio or I think it's a little courtyard below the patio. Anyway, we'll pursue it. Okay, donations. That's good. Now we have old business, and we'll be looking for any comment from the transfer station.
I don't have any updates that I know about. I don't know if anybody's heard anything, I think everything's running pretty smoothly up there. I like the chutes for the bottles now. Everything goes downhill, which is nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really don't have anything new to add to that. Other than we should be wrapping up the final touches maybe in the springtime. After the winter season, see what's held up and what needs repair in terms of any additional asphalt maybe or fill or places. But other than that, I think it's just kind of a punch list right now, isn't it?
Are the lines scheduled?
Lines aren't in yet.
Yeah, I know they're not. Are they scheduled? They're
I don't
scheduled
know.
to happen before winter though, right?
I don't know. I haven't heard.
Okay.
That'd be one thing.
Which way are the lines going to snap?
Well, they would be diagonal.
Diagonal parking.
From the way that you loop around.
We put the 2 pads in, they've got PERS ordered the shipping containers, those 40-foot.
Oh, that's right.
containers. I think, the last time I was up there was 1 up there. There was another one getting delivered, we're waiting for 4. The pads are all set for them, and as soon as the 4 of them are there, we're gonna get a crane and set them. But should look at, I don't know, I mean, put in like a ton of money up there, the 2 towns, and should kind of look at maybe maybe it's not next year, but maybe it's the year after, I think there could be definitely some more pavement put in that would help stuff, and I'm sure it's on your radar, but.
Up where the storage is?
Well, just.
In the apron area.
Pretty minimal.
Yeah.
What got done. I mean, it was, it was a lot of dollar and cents and making sure below budget and stuff, but it's pretty minimal. I think it would help traffic, it would help maintenance, it would help a lot of areas. You can see just you're increasing the workload, you're increasing those guys' workload, and to be able to manage everything that you've done so far has been to make it run more smoothly. Those finishing steps is, they're traveling on dirt, and it's hard. They got to travel out through there, and at some point, it would probably be good.
That's what I was referring to, something after the winter seasons, go back up there and see if there's some kind of punch list we could throw out there for maybe some
I think it
pavement.
would help those guys, having a good surface to drive. They're going to be traveling back and forth on a skid steer, and it's every time you turn, it's just rough for them. So.
Okay,
It is coming along pretty good.
thanks for the input.
Anything from the solar people?
I think we're going to be talking a little bit more about that on the October 9th. Do you have any?
Yeah, I had the guys filling in for Joe, who's out on maternity leave, call me and let me know that he had taken the numbers, because we had suggested maybe looking at partnering with the school district, and because the Whitney Center seemed to be well sited to take panels, and they agreed, and they feel like they could do panels on the town garage and the fire station and the Whitney Center, and that was a change from their original presentation with us. They would no longer feel like we would need panels on this building, and we wouldn't have to utilize the library, which is poorly sited anyway. And so those three buildings could end up with panels that would support at minimum 90% of the town's electricity needs for all those buildings, for all the town buildings and the school. So that's what they plan on finalizing numbers and presenting at some point in October.
Okay, we'll keep pursuing them. The budget will be published at the October 9th meeting. We've said we'll put it out in the minutes the first of the month.
Great.
So anybody needs any information about the budget, it's available at the office. Okay, the office personnel policy, critical incident stress management and catastrophic PTO pool. All right, the police department has implemented a critical incident stress management policy. I choose not to read it. But, I will. It's well worded. Chief Curley researches these things really well. He doesn't make it up. He goes to his best sources for the wording. And it's just to help people that are placed in a stress situation, which could happen for the highway department, the fire department, the police department. Any of those people could be put in a situation of great stress, loss of life, the car accidents, all the things. So the proposal is to add this to the town's personal policies. Would anybody like to read it right now?
Well, I don't know if we need to read it in the record either.
Okay. It can be in the record.
Yeah,
I
right.
remember, did
And we
Chief Curley put it in the record?
I think it might be in the record, it could be.
Okay, well, whatever, it's here to be read. I think it's a good policy, I think we should accept it or approve it. And it'll always be beneficial to our employees. Gentlemen?
Yeah, no, I think, and the purpose is to recognize that when people are put in critical stress inducing situations, that we have supports in place as a matter of policy to help them if they end up with some sort of a traumatic disorder as a result. And in this day and age, these are things that are kind of important to recognize, I guess, as we put our policies together. And when we heard the chief's presentation, we felt like that, as well as a catastrophic personal time off pool, were important things to add to the personnel policy.
Okay.
So I'll go ahead and make the motion that we add the critical incident stress management policy that's currently contained in the Jackson Police Department's policies and practices manual to the town personnel policy book and the catastrophic personal time off pool policy to the personnel policy as well.
Second that, should we do them separately or does it matter? Doesn't matter. Because they are separate issues, and you know, if they're different.
They're separate issues.
It's all the personnel policy then.
Well, I made the motion and you seconded it. We could certainly discuss them both now that we've
Right.
got the motion on the
Right,
floor.
I just want to make sure they're both
Yeah.
out in the open.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Want to pass this one?
Well,
We're going to do both then.
we'll do both. But
Okay.
it's probably time to
Discuss.
make sure we've got good solid discussion on that.
Okay. To add to the town office personnel policy, to the town, yes. But it would be townwide, is that correct? Catastrophic leave, it is a procedure where employees can donate their sick time to a person who is catastrophically sick and has used up their own sick time. And I think the school has adopted that. Bartlett School has adopted it. It's an acceptable, let's see, our insurer will accept it. That's fine with them. And I think it would be good to add to our personnel policy so that someone who is catastrophically ill can have the support of their compadres and help them through that difficult time. Anything else to be
Sums it up?
considered?
Good.
Then I will accept the motion on accepting that as part of the two-part additions to the personnel policy.
I think we're ready to vote.
So moved. And second, I think it's been moved and seconded.
Yes.
Moved and seconded,
Yeah.
discussed, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Now we're going into that very tricky section of public comment.
We were talking about the bench earlier. Carolyn is here to actually, Dick was going to call you, but you're here. So we were talking about the bench that she had in place for her late husband, and now we have an issue because there is knotweed growing up.
Between the bench and the river.
Right.
You can't see the river anymore. And that's why we chose, my family chose that area so you could sit and look at the river. watch the duck race and all of that. You can't do that anymore.
Knotweed is quite a problem.
Is there a procedure that you can go by to?
Well, we kicked it around some. It's really tough to spray for it. If you just cut it, it just loves that, because then it puts up all new shoots, and then they all come up.
It was not there for about 8 or 9 years because you kept cutting that area.
Where's the
Right.
patch?
So the best idea that we
You got some-
came up with to start with would be to cut it and cover the area with a heavy black plaster. And that chokes out the sprouts that come up. And that's what we're gonna try to do. I mean, you can dig it out, but you have to be so careful, because every time you drop one of those little roots, all it does is sprout. I mean, it's tenacious stuff.
If it was cut down, we'll say now, and a black top put over it for the winter, would that,
It's better, okay, you could, but it would be better to do it in the spring, right after you get that initial growth, because it's put its energy into that first growth, right? You cut that back, and you've actually stolen some of its energy. So then you cover that with black plastic, or mulch and black plastic, and then it's that much weaker, because it's put the energy into those initial sprouts. So so I would think it would be best to try in the spring,
how early do you do that?
as soon as you see it.
Oh,
I mean, you'll see it. It'll start, you let it come up maybe a foot, you know, and then whack it, try to cover it up. None of these things are guaranteed to work, as I said.
it's worth a try.
But it is, I think that's worth a try. It's very expensive to have somebody spray that can work that close to a water source. That's a very...
It could be done though if
It
you
could.
pay for it.
It could be, and I'd be happy to look at that. I think that person or that group would want to do that again in the spring.
In the spring.
Because that's the time to, catch it. Now, it doesn't care. It's going to go to sleep anyway for the winter. So, you could cut it now. It's really not going to do that much.
Could you cut it now?
Huh?
Could you cut it now?
What do you think of if we cut it now?
Pat, we have some recognized best practices for removal on that you're aware of. And
Yeah, the hard
how
part-
big is the patch?
It's not huge. The hard part is it's like in the riverbank. It's not like,
Accessible.
yeah, it's.
It's right behind the bench, 2 feet.
Yeah. And but it's right in the rocky, bouldery riverbank. And I don't know if, you're gonna be tarping the edge of the river. You know what I mean? I don't know. I can talk to our guy that sprays knotweed. You spray right now. It's after it flowers and
Yeah, that's
before
what I
the
thought.
first
It was
part
right in the
of
fall.
frost is when you're supposed to spray.
Right after seeds.
And he's scheduled to be here soon. And I could try and grab him and ask him what he thinks about that. The hard part especially about spraying there, is because the Ellis is harder because it's the water source, but I don't know if anything, it can't really travel back upstream to the precinct building, but I don't know if that would ever be an issue. I mean, that's one of the hard parts, like Green Hill area. There's a big patch up on Green Hill, but we can't spray it because it directly dumps into the Ellis just upstream of
The water.
Of the water intake.
So there's like no permits for that up there, but it's possible he might say, yeah, we could definitely, that would probably.
Okay, well, why don't we just pursue whatever best practices we can come up with.
That will make us feel,
Yeah, well, certainly I empathize with the idea of it because, you know, you've got that bench there and it should be to look at the river.
that's what we wanted.
So if you can have him take a look at that, you say he's due up soon?
Yeah.
Okay, great, thanks.
Thank you, Pat.
You could certainly
Anything else?
Anybody else like to publicly comment
Bless you.
on anything? Well, then,
Make a motion.
what do you say?
I'll second the motion.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.